Hello, everybody. This is Brother Speak of the Brother Street Podcast, and I wanted to talk about the interview that L Nixon did with Robbie. And after listening to it, I feel for the guy. Um, the struggle of dealing with a woman who has mental issues, especially with PTSD. Um, that's very hard to deal with a woman like that, and because they're very hypersensitive to things. Some things they blow out of proportion, and they're dealing with a mental illness that is not something that you can help them with. That's something that they have to deal with on their own with a therapist. And and it's sad that all this had to be brought out because of some bitter woman who's mad because he didn't want to deal with her anymore. And she got other women that are on her side attacking the black men who never bothered them and bringing up wounds that, that he didn't want to make public, but it was made public anyway because of some bitter chicks. But I can understand his frustration of, how his ex-wife, soon to be ex-wife, how she would go on different rants and do things to him intentionally, trying to mess his life up because of her mental issues. My ex was kind of like that. She had PTSD from some trauma that happened not on in adulthood, but also with her childhood. Hi, Auntie, how you doing? And dealing with these situations where, like I said, she was very sensitive about things like men staring at her too hard, um, certain places that she didn't want to go because she felt real nervous. You may say something that you don't mean anything by it, but she takes it the wrong way, and then it becomes a fucking argument. Um, Dealing with, you know, she may have issues with her parents that relate to that, and then you're pulled into it, and she wants you to take sides, and it's constant, and it's constant stress on you to try to deal it, try to be the supporting uh, partner and spouse. But in actuality, it drags you down with her. It takes away your peace, and it's troubling to deal with it. And people really don't really understand. And then a lot of times, as the man, you get blamed for it. It's like, well, you must have did something to her, or maybe you didn't talk to her right. It's like no amount of talking to her, no amount of loving can help that. You could be the most loving person that you could possibly be, and it will not help. That's something that has to be dealt with a therapist because that's a mental health disorder. And of, as much as you want to say, well, you just gotta love her, you gotta love her. No amount of loving can help. The only thing that can help with that is therapy. And your love is not enough. Your caring is not enough. And you could be married to this person. You can tell that she's beautiful all the time, but If there's something triggering, that will get thrown out the window. And I can understand his frustration with that. The constant just yelling and screaming, berating of you, and all that stuff that happens. And this a lot of it might not even be your fault. But again, even in that chat, they were still looking at him. A couple of women in particular, looking at him. Maybe he did something. He's the problem. Though after you heard the whole story, you hear the whole thing, you still blaming him. And that's what you go through with that. And it's very troubling. And it's not like there's a lot of people you can go to talk about this, because again, they're going to look at you like, why you can't handle your business? You're supposed to be the man. You're supposed to be the leader. What are you doing? And again, they still look at you like it's your fault. And it like I said, it's tough to deal with. And then you break up, and then she's kind of stalking you, and mine was a little different. I decided to end the relationship, and she went on this campaign to befriend people on Facebook, my co-workers, and tell them about our situation and getting into it with other women that I knew, and then they come back to me and like, well, I'm like, what do you want me to do? I'm not even with this woman anymore. But she's going after them, getting in their personal life, and talking about our personal life with them, and it makes the situation worse. So, like I said, I know how that is, how frustrating that can be, and it's like you see this person that you love being this way, and knowing that you cannot help them is very disheartening and frustrating. And you wanna really go in on her, but you don't want to do that because you know that she's suffering from something. And you also know that if you do go in on her, you're gonna be looked at as the bad guy, like through that interview with Rob B. There were women in there looking at him like the bad guy for no other reason than he's just the man. How can you do this? Why are you putting this out on public? You shouldn't be doing that. When he's clearly saying this woman started this mess. She made all this public. I can tell you a story. My ex put some personal business out there. She put it on this website talking about some personal stuff. And I questioned her about it. I said, why would you do that? Why would you put this personal stuff? And try to spin it as though I forced her in the situations, when clearly we had a choice. She had a choice in it. I told her, well, you should take it down. She didn't want to do it. And ultimately, luckily, through some trickery, I was able to get that taken down. Got into the website where that stuff was at. Got her information, got in there, told her, hey, I need you to take this down. They took it down. You wouldn't see it. And every time, like certain times, I still Google my actual name, look it up, it's not there. Now, that was fortunate for me, I was able to do that. L Nixon case is it's kind of harder because they got things that trying to say that he was abusing when actually, if you look at the paperwork that happened, he was the abused person, and he was dealing with a lot of verbal and even physical abuse. But let some of these women tell it he was the abuser, and even after hearing the story and seeing the evidence, some of these women still thought he was the abuser. How dare he be wrong for recording everything? Well, some of those women, if the shoe was on the foot, they would tell those women to record everything, document everything. They will tell the women the same thing, but the man do it always sketchy, always is weird. Oh, he was just setting her up. But if the shoe was on the other foot, you would tell the women to do the same. You would do the same thing he doing. That's the double-edged sword of dealing with a woman with PTSD. Either way it goes, you will look at as the bad guy regardless. And it is going to take people who are more understanding to see your side of the story and at least be fair. Luckily, like I said, her family understanding how she is, they were more sympathetic to me than to her. She kind of jokes about it even now. We've kind of got over our little thing, and her parents and I, we have a interesting relationship. They still check on me um, a lot, even after this whole thing, because even they understood that dealing with her was different because of her mental illness. You're not Most times you're not going to have that. You're going to have people who's going to take sides with her, and so that's why, like I said, I in support of L Nixon, and I understand where you're coming from, and I understand him going on. I understand because if you sit there, you be silent, and you let people run their fucking mouth, disrespecting you here and there, and you don't say nothing because you don't want to look like the bad guy. You try and be the peaceful person, but it's only so much you can take. And then when you blow up, now that everybody looking at you, why are you blowing up against this person? Well, there's only so much you can fucking take and take and take until you're going to blow up. You're going to go off. And sometimes you don't know when to stop. You tell this person, hey, leave me the fuck alone. I'm not bothering you. Leave me alone. And they won't stop until you blow up. So, like I said, I'm in full support of him. From my conversation with him, he's not like these dudes in the manosphere and some of these red pill dudes. He talks with some sense. He seems a very wise person. And it's very sad that he has to go through this. And he's been going through this with his ex. And I'm in full support. You know, and it's sad that you have messy people who will take a side of a person who has been known to start drama and go off on people for some type of no reason. And you have to deal with that, and you have people, especially when you're talking about online. It's no matter what you do, you're always going to look as a bad guy because the black men have done this to black women, so it's understandable. And no, it's never understandable. I mean, I put it this way: it's understandable, but it's not right, and it's no reason to make excuses for it. But people will do that. Not just women, but men too. They'll make excuses for women to do horrible things to men. And then when you do fight back, say something, now they look at you, why you can't keep control. You shouldn't let women words bother you. Yeah, no. There's just some things you just can't allow to be out there because that can ruin your reputation. Reputation is very important. And one reputation you don't want out there is being an abuser. You don't want that reputation out there because that can ultimately affect your job. So, like I said, full support of L Nixon and whatever you got to do to get this woman off of you, hey, it is what it is. And it's full support of the man. And like I said, I listened to the interview. I felt his pain. I really did. And he didn't come off here crying. He just spoke it with passion and with the frustration and with just having to sit back and eat stuff and trying to be the respectable person with a person who don't want to be respectful and with people who don't want to be respectful. They just want to be messy people. And it's sad that even then, when you hear the stuff and you see the evidence, they still suspect. But that's the plight of men, and particularly black men, in this society when you're dealing with a woman with PTSD. You're always looked at as the bad guy, no matter what. And it's not a win situation. Um, your best hope is that you have people who are on your side. My situation was a little bit different. You know, I had even my ex-wife's family members who, particularly her mom and dad, who were on my side. You know, my mother was always on my side from day one, so you know that helped. So from the L Nixon is like it, you know, you, the other good thing is I didn't have children with my ex, where he has a child with this woman, and that's going to be the toughest thing, how to deal with that, because you're going to have to deal with her in some form or fashion because you have a child with her, and you know, and then you also have the woman. Is that mental illness is going to affect the child? What is she saying about you around this child? And of course, you know, some people will come around and say, well, if she trained the child this way, what they say about you? They'll blame you as the man for how her treatment of the child. So that's another thing you have to worry about. And, you know, like I said, I feel for him. And, you know, I hope he gets through it. You know, do what you have to do. Make sure that your son is safe. Because if she's doing all this stalker shit and following around and reacting to anything and joining with messy people just to destroy your character because you were trying to move on, you know, it's sad. You know, my ex, well, he broke up, and mine was a little bit more messy than his situation. You know, like I said, she tried to get my coworkers to turn on me. Now, luckily, my reputation was so good that it really didn't work. They would tell me everything. It's like, yeah, she said this about it. Yeah, she's you know, she's doing this to me. maybe you need to talk to her because I don't understand why she's being this messy. Why she contact me. I had this situation where she was dating coworkers. Just contacted and she dated two of my coworkers. And I guess she even told me like I wanted to get a reaction of you. I'm like, I left you, so what does it matter to me? I left you. You didn't leave me. I left you, so what would it matter? But that's the stuff that you deal with someone with a mental illness. And that's also something that you have that's tough to deal with. And, and I think a lot of people don't understand it. This is the stuff that you have to deal with as a man, deal with a woman who has PTSD and have other mental illness. This is stuff that you deal with. And the thing is, mine was as I didn't leave. She supposedly filed for she left him, and mine was a little different. I left her, but it still was a lot of drama that came from that. But like I said, luckily I had a good reputation at work. I wasn't around doing messing with women at the job or nothing. That I've never been about that. Most people didn't even know I was married at the job until this situation went down. But luckily, it didn't really affect how it was viewed at work. It was more a negative reaction towards her. Unfortunately, for L Nixon, it's a little different because, again, you had another messy person being in cahoots with her, and you got another woman who will side with them, trying to support this messy person. Now they're tag teaming to make this guy's life live to him. That's what I said about some of these women will attack men who are not bothering them for no other reason, just because a woman said that he did her dirty, not knowing the situation, knowing that this dude don't have a history of messing with women here, attacking them, but they'll attack this man for no other reason because they think he did something to them. And what's really sad about it is and you wonder why some men don't protect black women like that. They're very cautious around them. And some of these dudes who are pro-black women don't understand it. And you wonder why dudes feel the way they do. Even the guys who are not on this anti-black woman, they are still cautious around black women because of stuff like this that happen. And you don't get no sympathy or empathy. Listen, I would not ask for sympathy, but the empathy part, the no empathy for these guys, is what gets me. And you wonder why black men don't get together, because there is no empathy. I'm not caring about sympathy, but empathy. There is no empathy with black men when you're dealing with black women. There is none. And a situation like this, it should be, but really a lot of times it's not. And so, to L Nixon, I'm in full support. I understand you have my support in this, and from talking to you and seeing how you move, I understand. You have my full support. I hope you get through it, and I hope if you're able to make sure that your son is okay, because that's more of a tricky situation. And dealing with a woman with PTSD, dealing with a woman who have mental issues is very, very difficult. And sometimes you can see it up front, sometimes it comes on later, and when you're in the thick of it, and then like I said, the blame game comes like, well, you shouldn't have dated in the first place. You probably did something. You probably caused it, and it's like it's no empathy. You know, Fortunately, like I said, Robbie is more empathetic, and she understands because she's dealt with domestic violence situation, and I'm empathetic, and because I went through that with a woman with PTSD, so I understand. And I know understand how frustrating it is when you're not the person who who go upside a woman's head, want to cuss her out and all that stuff, and trying to be the one being the calm one. People keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and women like that know that you're not that type of guy, so they'll push and push and push. So I just want to get on here real quick just to show my support for L Nixon, and if nobody else is understanding, I do understand and I do support. But I know he does have supporters, and I just want to let Al Nixon know that I'm one of them. I understand the situation, been through it, and like I said, I am the full support. So with that, I'm gonna get off. Thank Auntie for coming through, and I know you going through some of this stuff too, because you're in support of him, and it's sad that they're attacking you too. But again, like I said, I'm not surprised because seeing the people that are doing it, and I see some of the antics of these people, and it just makes you really, it makes you really very mistrusting of black women and black people in general. And you wonder why there is a separation. You wonder why dudes become coons and sellouts and stuff like that, because shit like this happens. Not bothering people, and people think they could just push you and push you and push you and attack you because they unhappy with their lives, and so people they think are easy talkers, that's what they attack. And you wonder why dudes become coons and sell. Even women become coons and sellouts because of shit like this. And there is no recompense. There is no, hey, let's stop these people from doing it. No, you just let it go because black women have suffered and shit like this. And I'm like, no, okay, you keep doing it. Let that keep going, and you're going to turn good men against you, and they turn against the community. But if that's how y'all want to roll, that's how you roll. So, again, so I don't be rambling too long. Full support of L Nixon. I hope you get everything situated, and make sure that you're able to make sure that your son with this woman is safe. Because, like I said, you never know with women with mental health issues. If they can't get to you, they'll take it out on the children. We've seen it done before, and it can happen again. So, With that, this per speak. I'm out. Y'all have a good one. Peace.